Every transition asks something of the leader, but the deepest transitions ask the leader to let something go. Crossing into new territory is not simply a matter of acquiring new skills or adjusting strategies. It often involves loosening a hold on ways of thinking, responding, or relating that once served the leader but no longer support the work as it unfolds now. The cost is rarely obvious at first. It appears gradually as the leader begins to notice that the habits and instincts which shaped one season are creating friction in the next. Leaders often carry forward more than they realize. They bring assumptions about how people operate, expectations about how decisions should unfold, and definitions of success that once anchored their leadership. These carried assumptions form a kind of internal ballast. They keep the leader steady, but they also make it difficult to shift direction. When the leader steps into a new environment or a changing landscape, that ballast can become weight. What once kept them grounded begins to limit their ability to move. Crossing over requires the leader to recognize this weight for what it is, something that made sense then, but no longer aligns with now. One of the first costs for leaders moving into new spaces is certainty. Not the loss of conviction, but the quiet acknowledgement that the clarity of the previous season cannot be stretched indefinitely across a new one. Leaders often try to bring their old interpretive framework with them, hoping it will translate. When it does not, they can feel unmoored. Yet this discomfort is part of the crossing. It signals that the leader must trade some of their reliance on familiar explanations for a deeper trust in observation and presence. Another cost involves pace. Leaders often enter transition zones with the urgency of the season they just left. They expect themselves to move quickly because quick movement previously signaled competence. But edges do not respond to speed. They respond to attention. Leaders must often leave behind the tempo that once defined them and adopt a rhythm that allows the new terrain to make itself known. The slower pace is not inefficiency. It's the time required for the leader to build a new understanding of the work. In addition to the cost of certainty, when leaders are moving into new spaces, there is the unseen cost of identity, specifically the self-perception shaped by earlier roles. Mature leaders may have sorted out the issues of core identity, but earlier roles can subtly create the self-perception that they are the ones who have always had the answers, or they're the ones who stabilize the team through decisive action. They may have started to see themselves as the sole carriers of organizational momentum. In emerging seasons, these identities can become burdens. The work may require a different posture, one shaped by listening, by shared interpretation, or by admitting that the path ahead is still taking shape. Crossing over means allowing the old identity to loosen so that a more fitting one can form. Leaders must also confront the cost of relational expectations. People who thrived under the previous arrangement may not thrive in the new one. People who look to the leader for consistency may resist the changes required by a shifting environment. Crossing over often involves renegotiating the relational fabric, not by abandoning relationships, but allowing them to take on new shapes. The leader must leave behind the expectation that everyone will interpret the transition in the same way, or at least at the same pace. When leaders are moving into new spaces, there is a surprisingly quiet cost. The willingness to release approaches that once felt indispensable. A leader may have had a signature way of resolving tension, creating alignment, or motivating a team. These methods might have been essential in earlier years, but the edges expose their limits. Letting go of these familiar moves is uncomfortable because they are woven into the leader's sense of competence. Yet, new spaces often require new patterns, and the leader must allow these older reflexes to recede. The cost of crossing over is not loss for its own sake. It is the recognition that movement requires space, and space is created by release. Leaders who refuse to let go of old structures and old assumptions or old identities find themselves carrying too much weight into territory that demands agility, curiosity, and a different kind of strength. What emerges on the other side is not a perfected leader, but a more responsive one. A leader who understands that leadership is not defined by holding everything together, but by discerning what no longer fits. A leader who recognizes that letting go is part of the work, not a failure of it. A leader who knows that transitions reshape both the environment and the person navigating it. Crossing over always carries a cost, but it also creates capacity. The leader finds new language forming, new instincts emerging, new clarity gathering slowly. What was surrendered makes room for what the moment now requires, and in time, the leader realizes that the cost was not an ending. It was the quiet work that allowed the next season of leadership to begin.